Welcome to a present from the past.
The show for all your paranormal needs.
Hello and welcome back to A Present from the Past. My name is Weldon and I am your host for this evening. In today's episode, first off, I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever stayed at a hotel, motel, and you kind of get this eerie feeling like maybe somebody's watching you, or that you could have swore you just saw a shadow walk by, or there could be a million different things, just something that kind of heightens your alarm, puts you on edge there. Well, if you're the type of person that actually enjoys that type of feeling, I have a great place for you to check out. It's in downtown Austin. It's called the Driskill Hotel. The Driscoll was built in 1885 and has a plethora of history attached to it. Shortly after it was built, and it was built by, or owned at the time by, a gentleman named Colonel Jesse Driscoll. So it was built back in the days, back in 1885, and in 1887 they were in the process of building the Capitol building in Austin. So the legislators decided to move to the Driskill Hotel and have their meetings there. While they were in session from January to April of 1887, the senator and his family were staying at the hotel. The senator at the time was Temple Houston. And Temple was trying to keep his daughter occupied. He had a 4-year-old daughter named Samantha, and he was trying to keep her occupied. So he got her a little leather ball, let her go play with the leather ball. Sometime in early April, while Dad was having his meetings, Mom had fallen asleep in their room, Samantha was taking this ball and playing around the hotel with it. At one point, she tossed it, bounced it, whatever. She was reaching for it to try and catch it, and ended up falling down the stairs. Now, unfortunately, Samantha died. It was a horrible accident. It was so bad that even rumor has it that Jesse Driscoll and other people were trying to cover up, not necessarily like it was a murder, but they didn't want word to spread that the senator's daughter died at the hotel. So they were trying to make it look like, I don't know, I guess that she died at the hospital, or whatever the case is. But there's reports that shortly after the daughter is pronounced dead on the scene, Temple asked for a local artist to come in and draw her and make a portrait, which I know some people say that's kind of creepy, but it wasn't all that uncommon back in the day for people to pose with the dead, for artists to paint the dead. It wasn't seen as weird, if you know what I mean. It's not like it was done all the time, but it was just kind of accepted. So he had this portrait drawing of his daughter, and apparently he left it at the hotel. He never came and collected it, never took it with him. So Jesse Driscoll took the painting and put it at the top of the stairs and left it there. Of course, several years later, many years later, Temple passes away, and his daughter, where she was buried at near Austin, or the small town that they lived in at the time, was moved to, I believe it was somewhere in Oklahoma, that they ended up getting buried together. Kind of a family plot, I guess you'd say. But that wasn't the only terrible accident that had happened there at the Driskill Hotel, and that was definitely not the only death at the Driskill Hotel. Now, side note, before we get too much further into talking about the deaths at the Driscolls and some of the other, things that have gone on at the Driscolls, the area where the Driskill Hotel was built, which is right there on 6th and Brazos, that particular area, before Austin was there, before it was even a town, it used to be an area where several creeks came together. And the Indians in the area, you had Comanche, Apaches, and I can't remember the other group's name. I want to say Tawakan, but please just Apaches, Comanches, and there was one other group. They all, even though those groups didn't get along, they all saw this as hallowed ground. So it was sacred to them, which just adds to the spookiness of the whole everything going on at the Driskill Hotel. Because think about it. The Poltergeist, the whole movie was based on that the house was built on Indian burial ground. So to me, I don't know. I feel like the Native American culture had a closer connection with the spiritual elements, and were able to pick up on things more so than the Europeans. And anytime you add water into the mix, I don't know if I mentioned it before in a video, but water is very conductive of energy. And that's what spirits use to feed, and what they use to manifest themselves and do things, is they got to use this energy, and they got to use this energy source from somewhere in order to do such things. So, that being said, know that the Driskill Hotel was built on hallowed ground. Now on with the notable deaths that happened at the Driskill. Okay, we had a gentleman named Peter Lawless. Now, Peter Lawless was a successful businessman, and him and his wife had been married 20 some odd years when she passed away. So he decided to move into the Driskill Hotel. He moved in on the 5th floor and was there for 31 years. I don't know about you, but I know apartments are expensive, and I know they didn't really have apartments, like what we think of nowadays as an apartment. I know they didn't have those back in those days. But can you imagine 31 years at a hotel? If I didn't have to pay for it, it'd be awesome. But Peter Lawless was a successful businessman. He lived on the 5th floor. I could not find what his cause of death was. I don't know if I don't even know if he died on the property literally, but they say he's still there. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And another person, again, this person did not die on the property, but is reported to be one of the entities at the location. And that is Colonel Jesse Driscoll himself. And for those of y'all who missed it, Colonel Jesse Driscoll was the first owner of the Driskill Hotel, hence where the name comes from. Now, again, he didn't die at the hotel. He actually ended up losing the hotel and moving away and dying years later. But it's said that he's still at the hotel. Yeah, let me back this up just a little bit. Okay, so right now I've listed off 3 reported entities at the hotel: Samantha, Jesse Driscoll, and Peter Lawless. Okay, now Samantha. I'm sorry, my daughter's name is Samantha, and I call her Sam all the time. So Samantha was known for playing in the hallways, bouncing. You'd hear the bouncing of the balls, and they were saying that there was sometimes you'd even see her apparition staring up at paintings and stuff. Um, Not necessarily her painting, but just different paintings. And I think some people have even said they've heard, like, what sound like children's laughter or whatnot. The creepiest one, though, the creepiest one is a parent will notice that their kid is playing with their imaginary friend, and they'd ask, "Hey, who are you playing with?" And the child would go, "This is my friend Sam or Samantha." And apparently, this has happened on more than just one occasion, so it's happened a few times that parents have found their kids playing with their imaginary friend, and it turns out to be Samantha. Creepy. Um, Peter Lawless, the successful businessman, several staff members have reported feeling like a tingling sensation and looking up and seeing the face of an old man, and then he just disappears. Uh, I have not seen a full-on apparition just kind of disappear on me. I've seen, like, the greatest thing I've seen is I saw a shadow figure turn and walk into a room, and of course they disappeared as soon as they got in the room. But I've never seen a full-on apparition just disappear before my eyes. That might be a little creepy. So, yeah, back to Peter Lawless. There was actually a paranormal group that had come out and investigated the Driscolls. I'm sure there's been plenty of paranormal groups that have gone out to the Driscolls. And one of the crew members or one of the groups says they witnessed a person fitting Peter Lawless's body or his description walk out of the hotel, walk right in front of a bus, and disappear. Now, the staff members have said they've seen Peter many times getting in and off on the elevator, walking by, all sorts of hotel clerks and waving at them and whatnot, and just vanishing as soon as anybody looks directly at him. The other person was Jesse Driscoll himself. Now, they said Jesse was famous for going out onto the hotel floor, greeting his guests, and talking to them, shaking their hand, thanking them for coming out. Basic hospitality, what a manager should be doing if everything's running smoothly, is out talking to guests and making sure everything's going great. So that's what he would do on a regular basis. He was also a big fan of cigars. So here, late one night, up on the mezzanine, there was a security guard that was doing his regular rounds, and he all of a sudden out of nowhere smelled cigar smoke. And of course, the security guard, he's looking around trying to figure out where the cigar smoke's coming from, when he hears kind of a booming voice from behind him asking for a match. "You got a match?" The security guard turned around, did not see anybody standing behind him, and apparently quit the next day. can you really blame them though? I know me, but I'm weird. Stuff like that just intrigued me. I would be like, ooh, where'd that come from? But normal people, not crazy people, normal people would be like, yep, nope, 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 not my cup of tea. Bye. So we have Jesse, Peter, Sam, and then the last entity I did not get a name for. But it was a female who. Now, I'll tell you both versions of the stories. They both pretty much end the same way. There's supposedly a police report that backs up one of them, and there's not a police report that backs up the other one. So here are the two stories. I'll give you a second to think which one you think is real, and then we'll tell you which one the police report backs. Okay. So in the first story, this was an Austin socialite. She was well liked. Keep in mind, this was in the 80s that this happened. So she was an Austin socialite. Everybody loved her. Everybody knew who she was, and she was kind of well off. She found out that her fiance was cheating on her. So she booked a week solid at the Driscoll and went down the street and spent, what was it? Spent roughly $40,000 buying dresses, gowns, hats, shoes, whatever. Spent $40,000 on just apparel. Had all the apparel delivered to the Driskill Hotel, to her room. And at one point, a staff member was trying to get into her room or something, and this Austin socialite pushed a pillow into her stomach and then took a revolver, shoved it into that pillow, and shot herself in that stomach. And obviously died of gunshot wounds. Now that's the first story, and we'll call that story one. The second story, a woman found out that her fiance was cheating on her, came in, booked a couple of nights at the Driskill Hotel, went down the street, loaded up on as much liquor as she could afford, liquor and cigarettes, whatever, came back to the hotel, drank herself crazy. And in the end, same thing, put the pillow into her stomach and then took the revolver and shoved it into her stomach and pulled the trigger, killing her slowly. So that's story two. Now, I'll give you a chance, out of the two stories, which one do you think is the truth? I'll give you about 10 seconds or so to come up with one. All right, it's been about 10 seconds. Need a few more? Maybe? Yes? No? All right. So out of the two stories, story number one, story number two, which one is real? Which one is real? Story number two has the police report that backs it up. So a woman came in, got drunk, and obviously was distraught over losing her husband or fiance cheating on her or whatnot, and took her own life. Man, there's so many of these stories that I get into is where someone committed suicide or taken their own life or thought about it or whatever. Once again, guys, if you're having thoughts like that, please, please, please find help. Okay? I know it may seem helpless or whatever, but there's always going to be somebody that cares. All right. Back to the story. So yeah, story number 2, they said that she, committed suicide, and even if she hadn't have shot herself in the stomach, the alcohol level was so high that she would have died of alcohol poisoning. So that, in a nutshell, is everything that's going on at the Driscoll. So it was built in 1885. It was built on hallowed ground. You had 5 notable 4 notable entities that roam the hallways, and they say it's always changing or whatnot. Well, not changing, but sometimes it seems like there's somebody new there. Anyway, Driskill Hotel, Austin, Texas, definitely worth checking out, especially if you love scary, staying at scary hotels or haunted hotels, which I kind of want to do a tour of Texas and just hit all the haunted hotels and stay in the most haunted room. I can record it, see if anything happens, put it up here, and go that route. That could be fun. All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. I want to, again, thank you guys for joining me. Hit the subscribe button down below if you liked what you saw. Hit the like button. If you think I need to change up my content, change up how I do things, leave a comment down below. I'm always willing to hear feedback. I want to give you guys what you want to see, I don't want to keep just putting out whatever. I want to give y'all something to be interested in. So if you like where I'm going with this, but you think it needs a little tweak here or there, leave me a comment. I'm not going to stray from paranormal stuff. It's always going to be something to do with paranormal. But maybe y'all want to see me do a reaction video to some footage that's been found and kind of break it down and see if I think it's paranormal or not. I can do that. I think Natasha would have fun with that too. But yeah, definitely hit the subscribe button. Give me a like, give me a dislike, leave me a comment down below. Check out my website, apresencefromthepast.com. Check out our Facebook, A Presence from the Past. I'm also on Instagram. Yeah, just anything, any feedback. I always love it, guys. Once again, thank y'all for joining me. Have a good day, guys.